Qantas today hit back at claims it cheated thousands of customers. Now, there's been the most amazing pile on Qantas, as you know, and on its now former boss, Alan Joyce. Now, one of the most damaging accusations has been from the ACCC competition watchdog, which wants Qantas hit with a $600 million fine for selling 8,000 tickets on flights last year that had already cancelled. Well, today Qantas, which has been saying sorry for a long time, now filed its defence, saying, well, the ACCC didn't understand the pressures it was under back then with these massive upheavals coming out of the COVID lockdown. And it says its tickets were explicit. Qantas wasn't selling a promise to fly you on the one flight at that exact time. It was selling a bundle of rights, a promise to do its best to get customers to where they wanted to be on time. And that might mean alternative flights. I didn't know that, but there you go. Joining me is the country's top finance writer, Terry McCrann of the Herald Sun. Strong defence?
Very strong defence, Andrew. I mean, there are two big points about all this. The ACCC somehow got it into its head that they've got a gotcha. They found that Qantas was doing what the banks were doing when they had those fees for no service. You know, they were charging dead people. They were charging, they weren't actually providing any service. Qantas is selling tickets on planes that didn't exist, so-called ghost planes. The problem with the ACCC accusation is that, you know, Qantas didn't set out to think, we can rip off these customers, we can sell them flights, they turn up at the airport, sorry, there's no plane, you've lost your money. It was all about coming out of COVID, and then getting hit by Omicron when you suddenly had these massive loss of flight crews. And when a flight crew doesn't turn up for work, Andrew, because of COVID, and they've got a quarantine, it's a little bit different to somebody not turning up to work in a cafe or a restaurant. You can't just immediately get another flight crew on that plane. So a lot of flights were cancelled and were going to be cancelled, and Qantas knew that. But the bottom line is there aren't any victims. As Qantas explained in the release, 100% of those caught in this flying domestically were offered a flight which either left before the flight they were booked on or within an hour of the flight they were booked on, or if that wasn't satisfactory, they got a full refund. Not as good on international.
Yeah, but that is a sort of victim. But what about the issue that the flights had already been cancelled?
They got their flights. Well, because Qantas had a choice. Given the reality of COVID and the massive disruption and the loss of flight crews and crews across the board, and not just flight crews, they had a choice. They could just cut half their flights and make people scramble to find seats on flights, and not know just how many planes they're going to have available and how many crews they're going to have available, or keep all its scheduled flights flying, and when push came to shove, not on the day, we're not talking about on the day, this is counting down to the day, when it had a better sense of what flights had to be cancelled, then it could deal with those bookings. So it was trying to do the right thing by its customers, ultimately.
Well, what you say is a little bit better than what Virgin did to me the other day when in Darwin, they cancelled my flight home within a couple of hours' notice and come back tomorrow. For goodness sake. The Albanese government has had to give up making a trade deal with the European Union. Europe just wasn't going to open its markets. Is that a big blow? Was it ever on the cards?
No, because it wasn't ever on the cards, Andrew, the bottom line. I mean, what we want from the Europeans is to open their doors to our agricultural exports. They're not going to buy tons and tons of coal. They're closing down their coal-fired power stations. They don't want to buy tons and tons of iron ore. They don't have a steel industry much anymore.
So why was it
they want our ag exports. They want we want them to buy our ag exports, but they've got their own farmers to protect. The Dutch put them aside, Andrew. They're not protecting their farmers, but the French desperately want to protect their farmers, and so the idea that they were going to open the doors to our ag exports was always a pipe dream.
So why were they selling it so hard? I don't quite get it.
Very silly.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid, rising expectations. The war in Ukraine caused devastation here, right? Fuel prices, gas prices, electricity prices, food prices. The war now in the Middle East, in Israel, it could broaden. I suspect maybe not, but we could. How is that going to affect us?
Well, it's uncallable, Andrew, obviously. I mean, I don't think the rosy scenario is the one that you should embrace, i.e., you know, we wake up one day, the war's over, there's no threat to oil supplies, Iran, Iraq, even Saudi Arabia don't cut their oil production to try and put pressure on the West and in particular the US to force Israel to back off. So I don't see that rosy scenario coming anytime soon and quickly. If that's not going to happen, you really don't know how the reality is going to play out in terms of how the war itself goes and what the reaction of the Arab states, the Arab OPEC states are.
I tell you what, if they do get involved, and so far I think Israel is in better odour with some of those states like Saudi Arabia than people are giving it credit for, and the United Arab Emirates. But if it does go sour, it is going to hurt. But I've got fingers crossed. Terry McCrann, thank you so much indeed for your time. That's it from me.